Me now is Rose LeMay, CEO of the Indigenous Reconciliation Group. Rose, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
One of these projects is clearly the Ring of Fire in Northern Ontario that a number of First Nations are surrounded by. But I want to ask you, because, were you surprised that this deal that was signed by the province of Ontario and the federal government, that it was made today and not into the new year?
I was surprised. I did expect something to come in the new year. I was surprised it moved this quickly. I'm wondering if people need a good news story. This seems like a bit of a news story, but you know what? I'm not entirely sure this cooperation agreement answers a fundamental question, and that question hasn't been answered even in the original bill. Building Canada is how will Indigenous peoples be consulted? I'm not sure that has been clarified in any way through this agreement with Ontario, nor the other agreements with other provinces.
And so take us through some more of those concerns, right? And talk about how First Nations in particular, we've been talking about the Ring of Fire for 15 plus years. It is there. There's some environmental assessments getting underway with a few of the First Nations. But, what are the fundamental concerns, I think, where you stand and where you sit?
Well, if this cooperation agreement was truly about eliminating red tape, that would be great. There's a lot of red tape in any kind of project assessment, in any kind of governmental review. When there's two levels of government, let's reduce red tape. Nobody wants our tax dollars wasted. But you know what? Some of that red tape is the rules and regs that protects the land, that protects the water. One of these First Nations communities in the Ring of Fire has been on a boil water advisory for 30 years. One of those regs, if we actually clear out red tape and it reduces the amount of protection for environment, I think we will be making a fundamental mistake. Is that clear from this cooperation agreement that due process will be ensured for Indigenous people? It's not clear. And that's what leaves just more questions than answers.
I'm curious, because I was reading up about it too. So Webequie First Nation and Martin Falls are leading some of these environmental assessments right now for building, a number of roads that could lead up to the Ring of Fire. And it feels like things are still split, that this could mean very good things for a number of First Nations. Like you said, some that have been under boil water advisories for decades, at least for right now, but others that aren't on board yet that still want to make sure and understand how they're going to be impacted. Do I have that mostly right?
Yes, you do. Although let's keep it in context that Alberta and BC are not on the same page when it comes to pipelines and where they might be located. First Nations are not going to be in consensus in the same way as all Canadians. But what I think is really at play here is also the international right of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. The cooperation agreement stated Canada is committed to it. Clearly did not say that Ontario is committed to it. Now, in other provinces have a better relationship with Indigenous peoples, it's hard to say. But remember, this Ontario government is the one that actually entered in the whole Greenbelt controversy. It didn't protect that Greenbelt. How can we trust that one due process led by Ontario will actually protect the environment for your kids, for my kids, for First Nations, and ensure that First Nations rights are upheld? I think there's just more question than the answer at this point.
Rose LeMay, CEO of the Indigenous Reconciliation Group. Appreciate your time and your insight today, Rose. Thank you.
Thank you.